Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Asian Vision Dialogue. Today, the topic of our discussion is about Cambodia-China Economic and Trade Cooperation. And we have Dr. Yuthnea. He's the senior lecturer at the Beltei International University of Cambodia. So please join me to welcome Doctor to our program. Greeting, Dr. Yuthnea.
All right, good morning everyone and good morning Sreynou. I'm very honored to be here as the speaker in this discussion dialogue on the Cambodia-China cooperations on economic and trade relations.
Yeah, so welcome to our program today and thank you for joining us. I have learned that Doctor has earned your PhD in economics from the Lincoln University in New Zealand. So what is your research about? Yeah.
Well, during my PhD journey, I particularly look at the Cambodia's bilateral trade flow and with a focus on the trade connectivity between Cambodia and China. So I wrote up my thesis based on the flows of trades between Cambodia and its major trading partners, particularly with a focus on China. So I have some backgrounds on the relations between Cambodia and China.
Well, so therefore our Asian Vision Dialogue today is to further deepen our audience understanding on the Cambodia-China economic and trade cooperation. So let me start our discussion question. So as you have known that Cambodia and China relations are described as the ironclad partnership. So we would like to further understanding from your perspective of the current bilateral relation between Cambodia and China.
Well, so first of all, I would like to briefly talk a little bit about the history of the relation between Cambodia and China. So it should date back to some century ago when Cambodia first had a diplomatic relation with China. But what was noticeable was when the Kingdom of Cambodia officially recognized the People's Republic of China in the 1950s, and that when our late King Father Norodom Sreynou, who lived in Beijing for different periods of self-imposed exiles, and he maintained the close tie with China since then. And after that, during the 1990s, when Cambodia liberalized and privatized its economy, it follows the China's step in switching its economy from centrally planned to the free market economy. So we have seen a very rapid economic growth of about 6 to 7% on average per annum, and we have seen as well the increase in the living standard of the Cambodians throughout the period. And China also is also one of the most significant strategic partner of Cambodia through its outward foreign direct investment. So we have seen a lot of Chinese investors in different sectors, but mainly we have seen Chinese investment in the garment and textile industry. So this accounts for more than 80% of the exports to China, to the export markets of Cambodia. And we have also seen the development aids that is provided by the Chinese government, such as the development of the infrastructure. We have seen bridges, national roads of 1,000 kilometers that the Chinese government have supported Cambodia. So these are all the relations that Cambodia and China has had. And I think the tie between these two countries has been deepened through the BRI, as many people know, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the RCEP, the Regional Cooperation Economic Partnerships, that Cambodia is one of the members of this trading agreements. So I'm very optimistic that the relations between Cambodia and China is going to be deepened in the future.
And from economic perspective, as we have known that the world is looking for world to the digitalized economy. And we know that Cambodia is also attempting to follow the trends. So following the cooperation between Cambodia and China, so do you think what we can expect from the China roles in promoting Cambodia digital economy?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Cambodia has a policy framework for the digital economy. So it has a 15-year plans to go toward the digitalizations of its economy, as well as the digital citizens, digital society, and digital government. So it has 3 steps, each consists of 5 years plans. But when we talk about China, and what can we expect from China in terms of its support to develop Cambodia digital economy, we have to talk about the capability of China's that it can do in order to promote the digital economy in Cambodia. So as we all know that China is a leader in technology. So nowadays we can see the virtual reality, we can see the robotic, we can see the autonomous vehicle, and we can see the artificial intelligence, the AI, and all of these. China is one of the world leaders in all of this technology. And if we are talking about the global e-commerce market, China is the largest global e-commerce market. It has about 40% of the value of the global e-commerce market transactions, which is surplus the transactions of the United States. So what we can expect from China to promote the development of digital economy in Cambodia is through the technology spillover. So we all know that there's a lot of Chinese investment, and the relationships between Cambodia and China has been deepened through the BRI and RCEP. So we expect that the Chinese company will have spillover effect on the Cambodian workforce. So we can learn and we can get this effect from China. And what else can China do in order to enhance the capability of the Cambodian people or the Cambodian society as a whole? It should be through the improvement in the scholarship provisions to Cambodian students, as well as the practical trainings in China to our Cambodian staff and workers. So through this, we can really enhance our efficiencies and competitiveness of the Cambodian workforce. So I'm really optimistic that with China as the world leader in technology, and with the relations that Cambodia and China has deepened over the years, we can benefit from the relation with China.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dr. Yuthnea. So another question, which is really on the top of agenda, is Cambodia is among one of the very first countries who signed and ratified the we call Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP. So they said that Cambodia sees this as an opportunity. So do you think this argument can be reliable, and if so, what are the opportunities for Cambodia?
Well, first of all, I'm very optimistic again, because this is a wise decision of the government of Cambodia to take part in this free trade agreement, which is the regional cooperation economic partnership, which is very comprehensive and strategic for all the Asian partners. So we have learned that Cambodia is one of the ASEAN, and we have the FTA partners such as China, Japan, South Korea, and a few other countries in the Pacific. So this is like we are going to work again with the former team. So we have some shared common understanding, we have some shared goals, and we are working with a group or a team that has a very robust and dynamic economies, such as China, and we also have a very powerful leader such as China to lead the group. So I think there's a lot of opportunity and spaces for improvement for Cambodia if we are going to join this regional trading agreements. So there are opportunities such as the eliminations of the non-tariff barriers, which is very important for the member countries, and there's also an expectations of the growth in the service sector such as tourism. And for Cambodia is very beneficial because I believe that under the wise and great leadership of our Prime Minister Somdat CHOUN, he has maintained peace for decades, and this is a very good contributions to the tourism growth of the country. And we can see that this is an opportunity for Cambodia to export more of its service trade to Chinese tourists who will visit Cambodia, and with the internationalizations of the renminbi Chinese currency, so we're going to have a very fruitful benefits for this participations in the RCEP.
Do you consider any challenges for Cambodia or China in the agreement?
Well, thank you for the question. There are some concerns as well because we have to think about Cambodia as a country which is still developing, especially the ICT sectors that is still underdeveloped. And another sector is the financial sector, which is still not very well integrated and developed. So our concern is through the internet penetrations, which is also important, and the ICT development between the urban and the rural populations. So what I can see is the gap between the ICT access and knowledge of our people in the urban area and the rural area. So there is still inequality and the equitable access to the ICT knowledge, and the practicality of the ICT sector itself is still a major concern facing Cambodia in order to prepare itself for the digital economy or the digitalizations of commercial activities. So although China is going to invest in the future in the ICT sectors, but the question is, are we ready for ourselves? So we have to prepare, and we have to really close the gap between the urban populations and the rural populations in terms of the equality and equitable access to ICT.
Yeah, well, that's interesting to look at both opportunity and challenges. So another interesting question is about, so from your perspective, what would be the sector of area for Cambodia to be prioritized to successfully and effectively join this agreement?
Well, this is a good question because through the BRI and the RCEPs that Cambodia has signed, we are going to benefit. But which sectors that we feel that is going to grow and to get the benefit from these partnerships? I still believe that the service trade, especially the tourism sector in Cambodia, is going to really boom, and because in terms of trade balance between Cambodia and China, we still need to intensify our export to China because we have more import from China than our export to China. So we have a trade deficit between the two countries. So the most important thing is to intensify our export to China, but which sectors? So I believe that tourism is going to be one of the target sectors that Cambodia has to strive for in order to enhance the trade balance between the two countries. So if we can increase our service exports through tourism sectors, I believe that there are a lot of opportunities that Cambodia can really get from these partnerships. And as I mentioned earlier about the peace that has been maintained for decades under the wise and great leadership of our Prime Minister, I believe that Cambodia's tourism sector is going to really grow and attract more of the Chinese tourists, and then we can really enhance the trade balance between the two countries.
Now it's like comes to the last question for our dialogue today. So from your point of view, what would be the future prospect for the economic and trade cooperation between the two nations?
So Cambodia and China has a long relations since centuries ago. So the ties between the two countries are going to be deepened through the interactions of the Cambodian government and the Chinese government. And I believe that our people, Cambodian people and Chinese people, have been working along really well over the past decades. And I believe that these relations will keep going on, and the ties, either diplomatic, economic or trade relations between the two countries, will be surely deepened based on the wise and great leadership of our Cambodian Prime Minister, Somdai Akem Hasanapade Dejo Hun Sen, and the President of China.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Yuthnea, for your time to join us and share your perspective with regard to our topic today. So ladies and gentlemen, the dialogue is coming to an end. Thank you for being with us, and see you in our next episode.